I've never considered myself a crafty person, but when I began watching a new show called Making It, hosted by Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman, I got inspired. Making It is a friendly competition show that started off with 8 crafters and artists who were given challenges to create something new revolving around a certain theme each week. During each episode, after the hosts would explain the task, they would pump the contestants up by saying, "Go make it!" It was pretty funny. As I watched the contestants creating these incredible crafts, many of them revolving around woodworking, I found myself thinking, I could make something like that. So I decided to give it a try. I began researching and watching videos, talking to the employees at Lowe's Home Improvement Store, and I was soon ready to begin making my first craft. Hanging wood shelves. I've now been making and selling these shelves for about 2 months now, and I've really enjoyed it. I've come in contact with a few failures along the way, but each failure has helped me to get better and better at making the shelves. Today, I will be giving you the beginner's guide to the inexpensive 4-step process of what is required to sand and stain wood so you too can DIY. I'll first talk about choosing wood, then discuss the necessities of sanding. Third, I will explain how to apply wood conditioner, and finally, I will demonstrate how to stain the wood. First, choosing the wood. According to Woodworking for Dummies, pine wood is a very easy wood to work with, and it takes stain very well. You can also use cedar wood, but after the stain has been applied to cedar wood, it often has a reddish hue. You'll also want to try to find boards that have a beautiful grain pattern, such as the one that you see here. Another helpful thing to remember is to choose boards that are straight and to avoid any boards that are warped or curved. One popular woodworking blogger suggests the best way to tell if a board is straight is to hold the board up towards your face with the other end on the ground and look at it at a downward angle. And as you can see, this board is straight. It's also helpful to note that you can usually have the boards cut to your desired length at your local home improvement store. Next, you're ready to begin sanding. You want to make sure to choose the right grit of sandpaper for your project. For this type of project, we want a grit that will smooth. Danny Lipford, co-owner of Today's Homeowner, suggests that medium grit, or 100 to 150 grit sandpaper, makes for a good starting point for most projects. I started out with 80 grit sandpaper, but realized after it was making small scratches on the face of my board that I actually needed to use 120 grit sandpaper. The higher the number of grit, the less coarse the sandpaper will be. So using a manual hand sander, as you see here, sand with the grain or in the direction of the lines of the wood, like so. I like to also sand down the corners and edges of my boards to give them a slightly curved look as well. Next, we're ready to begin applying wood conditioner. According to the Minwax website, using wood conditioner before staining wood is important because it penetrates the grain of the wood to promote uniform acceptance and prevent streaks and blotches so that there's an even absorption of the oil-based stains. While wearing gloves and with a tarp or garbage bag put down underneath your wood, apply the wood conditioner with a natural bristle brush. It doesn't matter too much if you go in the grain of the wood as long as each part of the board is covered. Allow that to sit for about 5 to 15 minutes, then wipe off any excess with a paper towel. Finally, we're ready to begin staining. According to a New York Times article revolving around woodworking, oil-based stains are the most commonly used. This is an oil-based stain in the dark walnut color. There's lots of different colors of stains that you can use. To apply, use a brush or a rag. I like to use a brush because it helps me feel a little bit more like an artist. And this board has been sitting for about 15 minutes with that wood conditioner on it. But apply the stain in the direction of the grain. Make sure that you apply a thin coat to each part of the board, making sure that each part receives about the same amount of stain. After you let it sit for about a minute, I like to wipe off the excess of the stain with a paper towel. New York Times article also suggests using a lint-free brush. After that has been wiped off and you allow it to dry for a couple of hours, this is normally your end product. The goal is to be able to still see the grain of the wood while still having that beautiful dark walnut color. And it's just that easy, just 4 simple steps. Choosing the right wood, sanding the wood, applying wood conditioner, and applying stain. I hope this has helped you to see that you too can create something new. Even if you're like me and feel like crafty doesn't necessarily describe you, you do have the ability and the skills necessary to DIY. So, as Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman would say, go make it. Thank you.